All right, we're live. So, welcome to another episode of the Two Shots Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Garcia, and today I'm going to be joined by a special guest. Going to be joined by the one and only, the infamous Ty Jager, who is part of Pounding the Rock. Ty, welcome, and it's been some time since I've had you on, man.
It's been a while since I've done podcasting in general. We finally did an episode of At the Line last week after the trade deadline. And now finally, I've got a little bit of time that I can actually do stuff. So I'm excited to be back.
I was gonna wait for you to do your, the rock kind of intro. Finally, Ty has returned to podcasting. Life happens, dude. Everybody's working and
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, it is what it is. But glad to have you back on. Talking a little bit about Spurs basketball with you, and let's go ahead and dive right in and just get right to it. I mean, let's talk about the news that broke, which is Gorgan Dragic, the Dragon. He has officially been waived by the San Antonio Spurs. This happened earlier today, and we everybody, pretty much knew that this was going to happen. It's not too.
I was blindsided. What are you talking about?
God.
I was blindsided by this news. I got a number 19 jersey and everything.
Let me
so
see
happy to see. Hold on, I actually do have a number 19 jersey. One moment. Oh,
Are we going to get the Gorgan Dragic tribute video?
All right, let's hang it up.
Yeah, there it is.
We'll duct tape the name. The name's different, but
there it is.
It's totally not a Luka jersey that I bought as a joke, but and remember, it's number 19, twice a Spur, never a Spur. Gorgan Dragic. Thank you so much for Thank you so much for everything, buddy.
You think we're going to get the tribute video?
Yes.
We're going to get a tribute video when he comes through?
Love it. I love it.
How many seconds did he play for the Spurs? All but 0 on the court, Thank you for all you did. Thank
everything. Thank you for everything,
Gorgan.
Thank you.
And speaking with him, speaking about Gorgan Dragic here, and everybody knew he was going to be traded. And now there's an empty roster spot, I mean, who do you think the Spurs are going to go ahead and get to fill this spot? Or are they just going to go ahead and move somebody that they have currently on the roster, say, you're up?
There's 4 different routes I think this can go. And the first one, I don't think it's the most exciting one. It's the keep the roster spot open. Don't do anything with it. Just keep an open roster spot just so you have it. Now, that's probably not going to be happen, but that's a possibility. Doubt it, though. But the second route is you promote one of your two-way players and Devontae Kaycock or Joe Wieskamp. I think that might be one of the more probable ways of doing it. We've seen it across the league where teams finally got open roster spots after the deadline. And they said, we liked our two-way guy. We want to promote him and also have the ability to sign him as a restricted free agent going to next season. That's always a possibility. The third one is Spurs maybe promote from Austin. But also, again, you kind of have to think, you have two-way guys. Why would you promote someone from Austin and not them first? But that's still a possibility. Or you can go into free agency, get someone, even though you're not really fighting for a championship, but just have someone on the roster and possibly bring them over next season. There's a good list of names in free agency right now that can easily be picked up, be a nice young talent that you can possibly keep on your roster going in the long term. But it's like those are probably the most 4 possible ways to go about, and which one we go with? Not sure.
Yeah, I suspect that they might go ahead and just promote from within. It would kind of not be a total shock if they wind up picking up a player. Maybe they go ahead and do one of the infamous contracts, short-term 10-day contract, 30-day contract, whatever they would decide to do, and just kind of fill the roster spot. Let's see where the record is currently, as we get later and later into the season. I guess that'll kind of gauge what they want to do, because if they're still flirting with that play-in game and they're only a couple games out, well, they might want to do something. But all in all, I mean, I think they're just going to promote from within. Maybe Devontae Kaycock, like you said, Joe Wieskamp. I think those are probably the smart fits. We're going to go ahead and look from within. People that we already have over with the Austin Spurs.
And the way they can go about too, if you promote one of those two-way guys, you have a two-way contract that opens up that you can sign someone from Austin. Maybe an Eric Coleman, maybe who else is down in Austin? I forgot names by now. But like, there's multiple players that you can also replace and put into that two-way spot if you do promote one of those two-way guys.
Yeah, my favorite player that was playing with the Austin Spurs never made it to the NBA, but I love me some Ledbetter, man.
Ledbetter was awesome.
I loved him, man.
He was one of my first like NBA interviews, and he was great with them. I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he was a good guy.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. That's why I liked him so much. And even watching him when he would play with the squad, in the summer league, and he was just helping the young guys out there, kind of, come into their own, try to give advice and try to be a little bit of a leader out there on the court for them, because he was the veteran. He had been with the Austin Spurs for a little bit, and he was getting up there in age, but just never made it over here, man. He's one of those guys that I wish would have at least come in and just played a couple minutes with the San Antonio Spurs. We could have got a picture with him in a Spurs jersey. I would have got my Ledbetter jersey.
He got signed to a few training camp rosters, so there was at least some Ledbetter jersey in the Spurs store at one point. Knowing how that operates, there has to be. There's a jersey going about out there, and we all know it.
Yeah, I'll probably have to make one now with my 3D printer just for shits and giggles, though. Ty.
You gotta hang up in the rafters. You have to
have a little miniature rafter hanging up here with my 3D printer.
Yes, I see that blank spot over your right shoulder. Perfect spot for it.
Well, actually, the blank spots are going to start getting filled up here because I got to take a lot of this stuff down because I'm going to be redoing the studio in the back and probably putting up some lighting, make it look a little better, and put up some of the memorabilia that I have. I have so much. In fact, I need to get with you because I need to send you some stuff that I have over to you so you can put it and display it on your wall there.
I have my wall. It's in the living room. It's not in here. I got pretty much every wall, but like right here that you guys can't see in another spot right here that's all blank. But I do need to add a Finland flag. I know that's very important.
We're not gonna go there. We know why. It's an inside joke, but it's pretty funny.
But I have one spot. I have one more spot for a flag. That's the next one.
Yeah, you got to put the Finland flag up there just for the hell of it. You have to. Yeah. You have to now. But
for fun.
I got to ask you a question though. One of the things going down a memory lane here with you real quick. Do you still have the tag that came on the luggage tag?
Yes, I do. That's hang up on the highest point on the Spurs wall in the living room.
It's always going to be with you.
It's always is. That thing ain't going anywhere. If this apartment starts burning down, there's going to be two things I get: my cats and that damn autograph.
What about the Drew jersey?
I don't care about everything else. Sorry, for what?
Your Drew jersey?
Oh, God. All right, three things. I'm going to grab the Drew Fiesta jersey, my cats, and that damn Manu autograph. Nothing. Yeah. Everything else can burn.
I just finished.
Knock on wood. I can't chance this.
We just finished getting a cat not too long ago. And cats are strange animals, man. My cat
where you at?
Is so random. Like, I buy her toys and everything, and I bought her like a ton of toys from, I don't know, PetSmart and everything else, that's around here. And my cat will not play with her toys very much. She likes to play with Q-tips, pens, and pencils. Just so odd and random, dude. And like,
you gotta get that catnip spray. That's what
she has some of that, but she's just so weird. Like, she'll sit next to me, and then all of a sudden I'm not like, I'm doing nothing. I'm just letting her sit on her pillow, not even petting her or touching her. And then out of nowhere, she just comes and grabs my hand with her paws and bites me, but not like a hard bite, like a play bite. I'm just like,
yeah,
what is your deal, man? They're really unique. They have their own little like personalities, man. My cat's just so random.
I love cats. Ted here in my lap, he is a very sociable animal. He does not mind if I'm walking up to him. He was underneath the bed and I just slid him out. He didn't bother. He's chill like that. But then I have Marble, who is much more skittish. I can't get too close to. It's all dependent. Every cat's different, like everyone else.
Yeah. And you know what? At least the cat that you have right there, his name is Ted. He's silver, or gray, kind of like silver and black. So I like that.
Yeah, he's a great cat. Isn't that right, Ted?
There you go. So as we start getting away from the cat talk, because we digress here. We're going
Every
on.
time I come on, we never really talk too much Spurs, do we?
I know, dude. It's like odd. Like we start going down another route, it's like it's odd. Always happens, but it's fun.
The best podcasts go down rabbit holes. What can I say?
I know. So we move away from the
So
Gorgan Dragic talk.
actually, so just going because I know that we had rosters. We were talking about players that we could sign, that they could sign. I actually did grab a list of players that I was actually surprised by some of the names on the list that were like in free agency right now. So you could bring back the big banger Aaron Baines as he's trying to make a comeback, but I doubt that. But like, I think the Spurs, if they are going to sign someone, I think it's not going to be in that guard spot. It's going to be more in the forward, like that 3 through 5. You got Willie Cauley-Stein, Jordan Bell, Taco Fall if you really want to have fun, Harry Giles, Eric Holman, as I mentioned, down in Austin. There's a bunch of guys that the Spurs could honestly pick up that would not be bad flyers in any way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to some of those. I mean, bring back the big banger, Aaron Baines. Why not? You can go ahead and pair him with Jock Landale. We got 2 Aussies, so it's not bad. I would dig it, dude. I'd go for it. But
I mean, there's a bunch of guys that honestly could be useful in any way in terms of being an end of bench guy.
Yeah. And we know some stories about Aaron Baines that are really funny, but we can't. we won't go there. But it was funny nonetheless.
Fun guy.
Yeah, fun guy. But let's go ahead and talk about the Spurs falling short to the Chicago Bulls. The Spurs, man, this is the thing that the fans are getting a little perturbed. They get upset, and they got to find a scapegoat, man. For some odd reason today, though, Todd, it's been Trey Jones.
I told you, I'm glad I'm not the only one that noticed that today.
I'm like, why?
I am glad I'm not the only one that noticed it, because whenever I sit down, people are like, "What? I don't see that." I'm like, "What the hell are you guys been?" I've been seeing this in replies to tweets all day for multiple days.
It's been happening since the morning. I've been seeing people post stuff about Trey Jones. I'm like, why are you all attacking the dude, man? He's like 22 years old, second year in the league. I'm like, come on.
Spurs Twitter needs a scapegoat. Logic be damned. What can I say?
Yeah,
I think everyone just needs a scapegoat, and it's kind of hard whenever most of the players in the rotation pretty good. Like they're not superstar, they're not all stars outside of one, but like they're pretty good, and you can't really. It's whenever you go to scapegoat someone, you're not really scapegoating a bad player that you can find logic to. It's very irrational to say Trey Jones is a bad player. Like
he's the reason. He's the reason the team is losing. No, he's not. You watch the game.
All yesterday. 12 minutes, baby. All 12 minutes. He's the reason they lost, even though he was only a -1 on the court.
Yeah, it's not him.
It's the thing with Trey Jones is I think everyone has seen Jalen Brunson kind of emerge as this really good point guard out of the second round, and suddenly everyone thinks, "Oh, Trey Jones needs to be that way. He needs to be a scorer. He needs to be a guy that's going to be a game changer and ask for $15 million this upcoming summer." No, that's not how it works. And Trey Jones does not need to be like that. And funny enough, while he did go scoreless last game, he still had 4 assists in his steal. He's still playing really good basketball. It's just not a scoring role. And I think people need to realize that, one, Jalen Brunson's don't come around often. And 2, not all these guys are going to be finished products. He's only 22 in his second year in the league. He's not going to be a finished product right away.
Yeah, so they just need to kind of lay off of him a little bit, like find another scapegoat. The kid's just trying to find his footing right now. But the Spurs did lose to the Bulls by a final score of 120 to 109. And the final numbers, I mean, you look at them, and I'm looking right now, points in the paint. Spurs outscored the Bulls 70 to 52. Fast break points, Chicago bested the Spurs 15 to 11. Bench points, the bench came up big for the San Antonio Spurs in last night's game. Spurs bench scored 40 points compared to Chicago's 12 because Chicago doesn't have a lot of depth. They have to rely heavily on their starting unit. But regardless, I mean, the Spurs put up some of these numbers here, and at the end of the day, they just couldn't get it done in crunch time. And it's a shame, too, because then you had Lonnie Walker, and Lonnie Walker gets a lot of flack, and I'm guilty of it as well because of his inconsistencies. But he has games where he looks pretty darn good. And yesterday, he looked pretty damn good. He scored 21 points for the San Antonio Spurs. If usually you look at the plus minus and you look at Lonnie and it's not very well, not very good. Yesterday's game was only a -7, so he was doing some good things out there on the court. The only thing with Lonnie though is that it's just not consistent. He'll have a game here and there, he'll score 20, he'll score 17, and then he just kind of is flat, and doesn't really do a lot of the little things for Spurs fans flavor, and I get it. I get it. And he's coming up. He's in a contract year and all. You think he would have been doing a little bit more, showing that he's put some things together in his 4 years that he's played here with the San Antonio Spurs. Unfortunately, it hasn't come to life yet. So at the end of the day, I don't know, man. I think the writing's on the wall with Lonnie. Well, I think he's a fantastic person, individual, great things that he's done for the community, really gets out there and does a whole lot. I just think at the end of the day, it's probably not going to be in his best interest to stick around here. And if he gets some looks in free agency and somebody's willing to pay him a hell of a lot more and he gets maybe a bigger role, I mean, I think he's going to go ahead and bounce and take it,
Yeah, I tweeted this out saying that I don't think it's too late for him to really redeem himself. And if you look at these past 2 games, 17 points and 21 points on what kind of shooting is that? Let's look at it. Specifically, 57% shooting as well as 34% from deep. That's not bad. And honestly, coming off the bench, that's what Spurs fans have been wanting from him all year long. And yeah, the inconsistency is there. And I think that's a lot more mental than physical stuff that's all in the head. If Lonnie honestly can overcome that, kind of keep up some consistent scoring for the rest of the season. Yeah, he might have 1 or 2 games down if you go all 82. But if he can stay consistent, bring you at least 15 points off the bench per game in this run, I think that's redeeming. Now it does come into the question of, do the Spurs see him in their future? Are they looking to go after a guy like Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal possibly in free agency? Because they're going to have all this money. Yeah, you can say Spurs are not free. San Antonio's not a free agent destination, but that didn't stop LaMarcus Aldridge from signing here before. And I know different time.
NBA All-Star now, Ty. We are a
you do. You have a young team that's pretty damn talented overall. It's just they've been falling short in crunch time. That Bulls game, that was a good game. For majority of the game, it was a good game for 40 minutes. It was only in that crunch time that the Spurs kind of started faltering. They started getting away from how they were playing basketball for the rest of the game and try to have their guys individually do too much without help around them.
Yeah, they played good ball for 44 minutes, but it's a 48-minute game,
Exactly. But it's you still have a good team. You have a team that can stay competitive. Even though they were going against some, we've seen all season, this team has been very competitive against some of the best teams in the league. It's just they falter in crunch time. They falter in overtime just because they kind of transition to basketball that's you need to play when it comes to crunch time, but you don't have a player that can really execute and finish that type of play. Yeah, now, DeJounte Murray is probably the closest to it, but you still need that superstar. That's why the Spurs are they're kind of banking on either this draft or going to free agency, which they're kind of set up to do either or.
Yeah, the problem with the Spurs that I've seen since, the beginning of the season is just, their inconsistencies, particularly in crunch time, in that fourth quarter, they're not able to sustain leads. They garnish their leads, even if they're up by as many as 20 points, 18 points, and 20 plus points. We've seen them lose big leads against other teams in the fourth quarter. And I think I attribute that to a lack of experience. This is still a very young team. You do have DeJounte Murray, who's really just balling. He's almost putting up a triple-double every other night. He's a double-double machine out there on the court. He's having to play at such a high level just to keep the Spurs in the game. He does need some help, but unfortunately, you're surrounded by a young, budding team. And when you have young players, they're going to make some boneheaded decisions in crunch time when the other opposing team starts to really up their defense. And the thing with the Spurs is they go through long spurts too, where they don't even knock down a shot. And that's not conducive to you winning games. I mean, you have to be able to knock down your mid-range jumpers, your wide open 3-pointers, your wide open shots in general, you know? And not only that, but poor decision making too rears its ugly head in crunch time because they turn the ball over and they turn the ball over at inopportune times when they're almost, they're only down by 2 points. They're down by 1 point. And if they were to make that 2-pointer, they could get a 1 point lead, or they could have maybe even knocked down a three and got the lead there, or even tied the game. But those opportunities never come to fruition because of bad decisions with the ball. You got to protect the ball. And I think they get a little bit complacent. Nobody wants to kind of take the shot. They kind of want to pass the ball, and they want to pass the ball. Let me pass the ball to the other guy because he looks like he's going to get a cleaner shot, a neat, cleaner look at the basket. But somebody's got to take the shot at the end of the day, and it can't also always be DeJounte. Somebody's got to step up, and
It's
yeah, go ahead.
overall, it's like you said, it's inexperience. These are
Yeah.
guys that never really been in crunch time in terms of this kind of position, at least on the NBA level. Now they may have been in high school and college, but not the NBA level. And NBA is just a whole different game. It's the experience is going to come here. This is the first year for a lot of these guys in really elevated roles. It's Devin Vassell is certainly in a very much elevated role in the past 3 games alone, where without Derek being here. And some of these guys are going to learn. I think DeJounte has certainly learned how to step up, but he's not been able to completely step up when it comes to crunch time. But still, it's like you can't ignore it all NBA defensive type season from him. But if you compare him up with someone that can really take over in scoring, is okay that like you can just overall the team is missing a reliable go-to scorer. DeJounte can be that guy occasionally, but you need a guy that's not afraid to take the ball. That's kind of like what the idea of Josh Primo is. Devin Vassell has shown some creation. We've all wanted Lonnie be that type of guy after that Houston game. That's just who the Spurs are looking for at this moment. And overall, it's like guys that, like you said, they're too scared to take the shot. They're looking to make the extra pass instead of taking a wide open shot. And hopefully in time they're going to learn their lesson. They've certainly learned a lot of their lessons so far throughout the season, as I feel like this team's gotten better. The games keep staying close. They keep staying competitive. Now they keep losing, but oh well. Tank season's upon us, and it's only probably going to be one season at this rate.
Yeah, I think Coach Pop said it best. There was a comment that he had after the game. I think I saw it by our good friend Tom Petrini here, and he had quoted Coach Pop as saying, "This is a rebuilding time. You can say it, and it's okay to say it. It's like such a bad word if you go on Spurs Twitter to say rebuild. Everybody is very careful to say we're reloading, we're retooling. No, it's okay to rebuild. It's all right. It's not a dirty word. Coach Pop even says it right here. This is a rebuilding time. You can say it. Coach Popovich says, we're not going to win a championship this season. And I think that's the thing. This team is not going to win a championship. You got to see where the team is and kind of lower your expectations at this point. They might not even be vying for the play-in game. They might flirt with it, but it just depends on what this team actually does to go ahead and close out the season. They're going to be coming up against the All-Star break right after, the rodeo road trip, so it's like, let's see what they do. They can go ahead and maybe change things around a little bit and, maybe really start flirting with that playing game if the other teams in front of them get injuries, or they just start not playing very good and they start digressing. We've seen that happen right now with the Los Angeles Lakers, for example. They just haven't played very good basketball. The Spurs right now, I believe they're 2 games behind the Portland Trail Blazers, and they just went ahead and traded CJ McCollum, so they might digress a little bit as well. Anything is possible. Really, at the end of the day, if the Spurs do make the play-in game, they've exceeded expectations in my book. It's a win, but I also would wish that they don't make the play-in game because that translates to a higher draft pick. So I'm kind of torn in between the two,
Yeah, that's kind of been me this season too. I've said it before. It's a go with the flow type mindset that I've gone into the season. If the team wins, I'm going to enjoy the high of it. I'm going to enjoy that the Spurs got a good win, fun, and most of these wins have been pretty damn fun too. But if they lose, I'm not going to make it and let it ruin my night. I did let it, like the first 2 losses, ruin my night. And I learned that you can't have that. You can't let a silly game affect you in such an emotional state that you're going to be hurting after a simple regular season loss. Now, that you lose in the playoffs, that's a whole different thing. And I understand it. I'm not going to judge you for being upset. We were all there for Ray Allen. We get it.
Why do you have to bring that up, dude? I hate that. I hate watching
you
that.
You know how the feeling is. I need to relate. Everyone needs to relate to it. I need them to understand what I'm talking about.
You're putting salt in an open wound when you say that. Ray Allen. I freaking hate that name.
You put salt in the wound whenever you said that the Spurs waived Gorgan Dragic. I couldn't. I was hurt. Do you know how hurt I was?
You wanted to get your
I have another 19 jersey that I got to put in my closet and never wear again.
Well, we can get you a custom one. It'll just say Dragic on the back and you can hang it up.
Oh, no.
I can get you a bootleg one.
And everything.
Yeah, I'll get you a bootleg one. You can put it in the shadow box. Just don't get it wet, dude, because it'll disintegrate.
It's going to catch on fire.
Dude, you know, I mean, this is like, we're digressing again, but you know what? I just saw the other day driving around town, I saw a stand where they were just selling bootleg Spurs Fiesta jerseys. And I'm like, you know what? Let me pull over just to see how bad they look. The colors were off. The things were unraveling. I'm just like, no. Why would people want to spend $50 on that?
Whenever the fake Fiesta jerseys last year were coming out all over the place, I was like, I became a jersey expert and able to point out fakes when I saw them, just from certain little tags, stitching, color work. It's like you can, if you know what you're looking for, you're going to spot. You can call someone out for wearing a fake jersey. But I was like, I'll just spend the $60. Go buy Fanatics one. At least that's a minimalistic one. Go buy it. Stop being a cheap ass.
Yeah, but the bootleg one was horrid. And it was $50. I'm like, damn, they're selling these for $50.
You could have for $10 more. You can at least get a Fanatics one. Come on, guys.
No, they wanted the bootleg one. The bootleg one. I'm just like, no. The color looked really off. You know how you can, like, we're familiar with the Spurs Fiesta colors pretty much.
You should be able to spot. Hold on. Let's get pictures. Let's get that dropped on the floor. This is a Fiesta jersey. The thing, I'm going to give everyone a lesson, then I'm going to go back to my spiel about mindsets. The Fiesta jersey is pretty easy to spot out when you see a fake. First, if this frosted patch is in there, it's a fake. If this one isn't here, it's probably a fake, unless it's a Fanatic one.
And it's a diamond one too. It has a hologram on it, like a holographic thing to it.
Then the big one. See how this says dry fit? If this says anything different, that's a fake ass jersey right there. I've seen some weird, I forgot what they were. It says it's like dry with DRY. It's horrible fakemanship. But it's like those are kind of like the three indicators of how if things are fake. And then if this side stitching, you can tell by the colors. If the colors are off, you'll know. It just
doesn't it have a patch too, like on the bottom it says Nike or something like that on it?
It does. Specifically on these Fiesta jerseys, they have a silver and a black and silver stripe to it as the old classic colors. So kind of keep an eye on that. Also, this says City Edition, obviously.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
All of the jerseys are different. You can find fakes easily, and you can be faked out pretty easily. So.
Yeah, the bootleg.
Also, don't go to shitty websites. Come on, guys. What are you doing? You're getting scammed.
What's that one called? I
don't remember. You're getting scammed. Don't just go to real websites. I know those prices are cheap, but you're buying what you're paying for.
Yeah, exactly. It might not make it over in one piece.
No kidding. Or it might take a few months. But back to my mindset. But like if you're letting losses really negatively affect your mental state, you're probably get invested a little too much. The only guys that are allowed to really kind of physically get upset are the team itself in terms of players and coaches, and guys that lost a shit ton of money because they were dumb and bet on a regular season NBA game. Like myself, as I lost money as DeJounte didn't get triple-double the other night.
No.
I learned my lesson quick.
There you go. I usually don't bet on the games.
I don't. I did that Bet365 thing in the Spurs app. I never do go on it. I get 200 or higher every single time. I've gotten 1,000 place multiple times. It's not fun.
Oh God.
But with this season, go with the flow. That's the way that I've done it, and I've enjoyed the season a lot. You enjoy the highs, and you don't get brought too low by the lows. And honestly, it's like Spurs are suddenly winning like they went 2-game win streak. I'm like, the playing's there. Here's the pros of that. Yeah, there's these negatives, but I like the pros.
Yeah.
AKA, I like the idea of being the Lakers, possibly in the play-in and sending them home, because why not? But then also, when the losses come, you're like, all right, it does suck that you're losing, but there's some really talented guys at the top of this draft, and these are guys that could dramatically change and help this organization move even quicker in this rebuild. So you're like, I see the advantages of even losing is not an advantage in itself, but getting that higher draft odds for a guy that can really help your team go starting next season, that's always a pro. So just go with the flow. It makes life so much easier.
They're going to have some cap space available, and they'll even have more if, let's say, for example, they don't decide to extend one Lonnie Walker, or he decides to go ahead and test the free agency waters, and he winds up bouncing from the team. That'll free up more cap space. I think by that time the Spurs might have, I read somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 28 mil, maybe 30, somewhere in that neighborhood to really throw at a free agent this summer, which is pretty good. It's they're gonna be one of the tops in the league, that one of the top teams in the league that actually have money to go after somebody in free agency. And you know what? At the end of the day, whether people like to say this is a small market, the Spurs aren't attractive, the money will attract people. Trust me, money will attract players.
Money
Even if you're
money talk.
Exactly. And one of the things I wanted to mention real quick too, Ty, was I wanted to mention DeMar DeRozan, former Spur DeMar DeRozan. In the loss the Spurs had to the Bulls, he looked unstoppable. And I was happy for DeMar because, I mean, he was shelling out, dude. He played a really stellar game. He had a game high 40 points. And in the plus minus, he was a plus 15. I know a lot of Spurs fans used to give him a lot of flack for him always being in the minus. Well, with the Bulls, he's in the plus because he has a better, I guess, talent base that's surrounding him right now, especially him being in that starting unit. I mean, 40 points. I mean, he went 8 for 8 from the free throw line, 16 of 24 from the field, shooting 66.7%. I mean, the guy put up some good numbers. So kudos to former Spur DeMar DeRozan, who's balling over there with the Chicago Bulls. I wish him nothing but the best, and he looks like he might be making a run in the playoffs with this team.
And the thing with the Bulls, it's like you can say that they certainly have a better cast, but it's like they have a cast that fits him much more.
Yeah,
that you have guys that complement him much better than guys like DeJounte and Derek were. It's like DeJounte and Derek have their own play styles. DeJounte is very ball dominant, and he's not really, you don't really do too much when you don't have the ball. But DeRozan's certainly ball dominant, and when you have like a 1-2 attacking him and Levine, it's dangerous. The other night when they were playing against San Antonio, when they didn't have Levine, they didn't have Caruso, they didn't have Ball. Instead, him and Vucevic were just picking and tacking with that pick and roll constantly. 25 points from Vuce, 16 rebounds, while DeRozan, of course, had that 40-point games. Like, it's hard to beat those two whenever you do have a talent that just fits that play style much better. And they have a much better all-around defensive team. And just overall, it's like they destroyed the Spurs on the boards, 53-33. That was a big reason that they won and they were able to close it out. Even though the Spurs had a lot more steals, forced a lot more turnovers on the Bulls, and fairly good shooting still, 48% from the Spurs last night from the floor. It's like you can have good games, but there's going to be sometimes those two players on the other side, they're going to make the difference and just hurt you for it. And that's kind of how it was with the Bulls. Again, DeMar, he is dangerous. I don't think any of us have said that DeMar is bad. He's always been good. He was just never a good fit, if anyone understands that. He was just never a good fit with San Antonio and the talent around him. It's harder for a team to replace their talent and build a team around a 32-year-old whenever you can just keep your assets and start building around your younger assets for a long-term plan.
Yeah, and that's basically what the Spurs were doing at this point. I think it sent a clear message, especially with the all the trades that they made. They complained, the Spurs fans complained that the team didn't have a direction of where they were going. I think after all these trades and them acquiring the picks, there's a clear direction on where this team is going. They're believing in their youth, and the youth movement that they have going on. And they're going to start looking, like you said, they can either start looking to the NBA draft to go ahead and go after some players, and they have the potential now to actually move up in the draft, or they can go ahead and maybe trade some picks, do something, in the when
Yeah.
the upcoming NBA draft actually hits. And they are going to have money, so they can actually go after some people in free agency, or maybe some top players, some top talent to help DeJounte with, because DeJounte, he needs some help, man. He needs some help bad, because the way that I see it is, you have this is the scenario to success. With one NBA star on your team, an all-star like we have with DeJounte, you can be competitive, but it's not going to translate into a lot of wins, which we're seeing right now. You have two stars on your team. Okay, you can make some noise and you can have a pretty decent regular season record. Doesn't mean that you're going to get very far in the playoffs. Once you have three stars on your team, then you're going to be in the talks of, hey, this team can go far in the playoffs and possibly be even, in the talk for winning an NBA championship. Right now, Spurs have one NBA All-Star, and the guy needs some help,
And to me, I don't even think you need three bona fide all-stars to be on your team to really win a championship. What teams really need are two really good guys. Honestly, you just need two really good guys that can take command and a strong supporting cast. That's what we've seen in these championship teams as of late. We
Yeah.
saw with the Bucks. You have Giannis and Middleton, who are your two bona fide stars, and a solid supporting cast around them that really elevated them as a whole. We saw with the Lakers in the bubble. You have LeBron and AD, who are your ultimate two guys, and then a strong supporting cast that was really defensive minded and really helped that team out. We've seen that's how the Spurs really operated. Yeah, you did have a big three, but it's like not all three of those guys went off. They always had two guys that were really game changers, and then had the rest of the cast support them in a strong way. So that's the way. I think the Spurs have a solid young cast that they can utilize, but they do need that second star at minimum. So they need to get a guy like Levine, or draft a guy like Jabari Smith, like a Banchero, someone that can really elevate and really
You're going to start the tank for Banchero talk now.
I honestly, if you want to tank, you're taking for Jabari Smith, man. Jabari Smith, I think Banchero is good, but I think Smith's even better, at least in my opinion, in terms of the skill set that would complement DeJounte specifically. But honestly, like I said, you can't really go wrong in this top, at least in the top three, top five. You can't go wrong, honestly, either. It's such a really good draft at the top that you should not be disappointed if the Spurs fall into the lottery. You honestly shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm going to be excited if they fall in the top, 7, even the top 5. Me and Ben Bornstein are going to be very excited.
I think everyone should. If the Spurs get a top 5 pick, everyone should be excited. That's how good at least the top 5 of the draft is, from what I've seen, what I've been told. Top 5 is just solid in my opinion. But luckily, with what they did the trade deadline, with what they've done with their cap space, the Spurs are set up for success in any way. They can either get that top pick. Maybe they get the 7th overall pick in the lottery. Well, they have assets to trade up, and they can easily use that in terms of using picks, using all 3 of their picks to trade up, or maybe throw the picks and maybe a guy like Jakob Poeltl to really entice someone to trade up. They have assets to do that.
You know what I was thinking right now? I was laughing because I remember the reaction that everybody had in last year's draft when the Spurs drafted Primo. We were dumbfounded over here in the studio. And it was so funny, the reactions, because everybody was like, oh, how do you feel? I'm like, I need a minute. I don't know what happened. And then I went and I looked at your guy. You knew you guys were covering the NBA draft as well. So I went back and looked at your live stream, and it was hilarious. The reaction from you and Noah and Mac. I was on the floor.
Noah's disappointment, because he saw it early, while the rest of us were like, we didn't want to see it. And whenever I saw that he wasn't excited, I'm like, oh no, this is not going to go well. But it's like, this is at the time of the draft that Primo, at least in terms of writers and everything, was a reported late, like mid to late first round type guy. I know that they did a workout with him, and I wrote him up. I didn't do too much digging, And like it was a surprise in the long run when you find out all the information that teams were already going to pick him up in that teens area. Like if the Spurs didn't draft him at 11 overall, he was going to get picked somewhere else like right away. And also it's the idea of drafting a year early, where if he was in this year's draft, he's going to be a top 10 type guy no matter what. Anyway. So Spurs drafted early, and there's a lot of other information that you learn after the fact. In hindsight, did I have a poor reaction? Yeah. But I think everyone is very emotionally driven, as we've talked about already. And after you do a lot of research and you see what other writers are saying, you kind of get into that same mindset.
Yeah. So I'm glad they drafted Primo, after the fact. But what do you think about my catchphrase for Primo? I'm gonna tell it to you.
All
So every
right.
time Primo shoots a three, I know you're gonna cringe. I say Primo for Threemo.
We all say Threemo. That's not. I don't cringe at
Really?
that. I say Threemo.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well, I
say
guess I'm
Threemo.
not the only
You're not
one.
alone. You're not the
Okay.
only one.
Because sometimes somebody DM me the other day and they're like, I hate that catchphrase. I hate when people put Primo for Threemo. I'm like, you know what? Makes me want to put it on a shirt and wear it proudly in the AT&T Center,
I think people would love that.
Primo for Threemo. And I got to attribute my friend over here, Jonas Clark, too. He's the one that came up with that nickname for Jakob, Block of Portal. And it kind of just stuck and people ran with it. So
I love
like
Block
that
of Portal. That's a great nickname.
Yeah, I like that as well. But let's go ahead and give some congratulations here as we start coming to a close here and we start getting near the end of the show. Congratulations are in order to one Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon was actually not named, but she's going to be inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. And it's not just Becky. Becky is going to be joined by Delisha, Milton Jones, Penny Taylor, is also going to be inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. So congratulations to all the ladies, but in particular, congratulations to one Becky Hammon. I know it means a lot to her, and it's probably going to mean a lot to the Spurs fans too to see her get this last accolade, as she's going to be leaving us after this season and now becoming the head coach for the Las Vegas Aces and also their general manager. So wish Becky nothing but success, and I know that not only I will be watching, but a lot of other fans are going to be watching her closely as she goes ahead and becomes the coach of the Las Vegas Aces. I know you'll be watching those games.
Not only the coach, but the president of basketball operations. That's why
Yeah.
she's going to be one of the highest paid women in sports going into that role, and it's very much respected. And I'm excited to see what she does with the Aces. And honestly, while some people might see this as a knock, whenever you say that, how you always ask yourself, how did this player not win a ring? Becky Hammon is among those top players of some of the most talented players that just never got a ring in terms of sports. And it sucks, but you never know. She could win a ring with the Aces, but she had an amazing career in terms of basketball. She's had an amazing a breakout career in terms of coaching. That she's been a pioneer for women in coaching in terms of NBA, in terms of American sports in general. And it's exciting that she's going to get the Hall of Fame nod. And honestly, she's going to do even more, even after that nomination.
I have no doubt. I want to see how far she can take this Las Vegas Aces team. Wish her nothing but success. And as we bring the show to a close here, we're going to go ahead and do a quick preview of tomorrow's game that has a 7 p.m. tip, not a 6 p.m., but a 7 p.m. tip finally is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Spurs are going to be going up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a team that kind of scares me, Ty, because on paper, you look at this game and you're like, okay, the Spurs should win this game. And I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout win. They should win. But should has me shook, because I've seen this team and they squander, double-digit leagues in the fourth quarter or even in the third quarter. They just come out flat and they just can't hit a shot, and they dig themselves into a deep hole. Oklahoma, to me, is one of these teams that if the Spurs don't come out firing on all cylinders and start knocking down their shots quickly, it could spell disaster for them. I hope that they do redeem themselves and they come out hungry and they can go ahead and remain competitive, all the way down to the fourth quarter and somehow find a way to go ahead and win against Oklahoma. The magic number, I think, right now is 3, if I remember correctly, for Coach Pop. So if Coach Pop, if they can get him 3 more wins, he will actually become the most winningest coach in NBA history. So I'm hoping that they can get closer to that magic number. But right now, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this game?
It's always a dangerous game when the Spurs are playing against a lesser team because we've seen them play down their competition, but we've also seen them just dominate some of these lesser teams like the Magic. You never know what you're going to get, but luckily, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is out.
No,
That's the only guy I was truly worried about, and I think the Spurs should be fine. I know shoulda, woulda, coulda, but they should be fine with the way that they've been playing, with the way that DeJounte has been out insane level. Devin Vassell has actually stepped up, even despite a poor shooting night the other night. He's been playing really well since Jager's departure. Lonnie's been playing well as well in the past 2 games. I think it's going to be another test that if the Spurs can really kick the Thunder's ass when the Thunder are already kind of one of the worst teams in the league at the moment, that's always going to be a good sign that this team they're better than their record. And I think we're all aware of that this team is better than their record says. And hopefully they can capitalize going into the All-Star break with a solid win.
Yeah. The other team that scares me right after the Thunder are going to be the Wizards. I mean, the Wizards right now are the 11th seed in the East. They're still kind of flirting around with that play-in game, just like the San Antonio Spurs are. Again, that to me is a trap game. You can't just look at the record and say, oh, well, they should have no trouble with this team. And the same thing goes with OKC, and that's the thing. When you have a star player like for OKC, they're going to be without Shai. What happened to the Spurs against the Golden State Warriors? The Golden State Warriors were running out there basically with the G League team, and the Spurs all but squandered their lead, and they lost that game. And to me, that was the worst loss of the season, because that game, they should have handily won that game, but they just didn't close, And again, looking at this OKC game and looking at the Wizards game, if they can get these 2 wins on the road, these 2 back-to-back wins, I think it builds confidence for them moving forward, to show that, what, they can actually close out teams in the fourth quarter and ink out a win. I think that's great. It's going to show a lot of growth for these younger players. It's a confidence booster. I want to see them win. I don't want to see them lose. I just want to see them be competitive every single night. And as I stated, I'm fine with the losses, just as long as we see the growth out of the players. So regardless of what happens, I just want to see some growth, Ty. That's it.
That's for me. I just want competitive basketball. I want fun basketball games. I want to enjoy watching the team. Even if they lose, if I'm enjoying the majority of the game, I'm going to have a good time. Like against Chicago. That was a fun game. That was a fun game to watch. Yeah, they lost it, but I still enjoyed it. And if the Spurs can just kind of maintain that lottery odds and then possibly improve them, I'm also not going to be upset. But it's like this is the Thunder game's the last one going to the All-Star break. And then you have about 10 days, I want to say 9 days between games going into from Thunder game to this Wizards game. And you can see what the Spurs do. I would like to say I'm not as worried about the Wizards knowing that Bradley Beal's out, but also they got Kristaps Porzingis, who seems to be a Spurs killer. So who knows on that one either. But like I said, go with the flow. Just enjoy watching these guys develop, and just enjoy it. Enjoy the game, and don't get too emotionally attached to losses. Don't let them bring you down.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, Ty. I'll tell you here on camera. I got to be at the game on Friday, March the 18th, to get me a Keldon Johnson bobblehead. Did you see that?
You better get me one too. I saw it. You better get me one.
That thing is fire, especially with him riding on the Mustang. But I got to tell you, the Spurs bobblehead curse is real. So this thing has me shook, man. Hey, I don't know how to feel about it.
It's after the trade deadline, so the curse doesn't apply. It only applies to pre-deadline games.
Okay, so we're gonna be safe getting our Keldon Johnson bobblehead.
You're gonna be safe getting your DeJounte and your Keldon Johnson bobbleheads. Don't worry, it's after the deadline. They can't be traded now.
But what about next season? That's what I'm saying. The curse is real, man. Look what happened with Patty. Patty.
You're fine. You're fine. You're okay. Go get your bobblehead. If you don't want your bobblehead, give it to me. I'll gladly accept it.
No, I want my bobblehead. I'm just like,
Well, go give me a
I love the
bobblehead too while you're at
bobblehead.
it,
I just feel
please.
guilty. I'm like, yay, I got a bobblehead. Oh no, the curse is real. You know?
If you
I
feel
feel like
so guilty about your bobblehead collection,
I feel
I'll
like I
take it
should
right
get
off
it
your
blessed
hands.
or something. Like I gotta take it to a Mexican, curandera or something, so they can say a prayer over it. Please protect Keldon at all costs, you know?
Burn some sage around it. Maybe that'll
Yeah.
help.
Make a little Keldon shrine, have a little sage there, like Jobu, you know?
You got to bring some sacrifices. You got to bring all the Oz screaming, and some Mariah Carey albums.
Yeah. So I gotta tell you, man, my friend Taro Katani is gonna be coming into town from Tokyo, Japan. He's scheduled to land here in San Antonio on March the 2nd. He's gonna be here for 4 games. What are the chances that you can make it for at least 1 game?
How long? So what were the dates again? Let me look at my
I
schedule.
gotta talk to him. I don't know what time it is over in Tokyo right now, but
I
I
don't know.
will
I
go
don't
and
know.
DM him. I'll DM him and tell him, hey, you got to give me at least the 4 games that you're going to be coming to see.
I gotta find it out.
Yeah,
I gotta look at the schedule. If it's during a weekend, I can possibly pull it off. But if a week, that's rough. I work like every other day now.
Yeah, hopefully it can be a weekend game. Hopefully we can get him to have at least one of those games on the weekend, and then I'll hit you up and see if you can make the game and give us the magic fingers that you do, the shooting from the hip. You only do that once we get at least 3 beers in you.
I think 3 beers is my max, unless I'm not driving, then I can drink more than that.
Yeah, magic things happen when Ty starts drinking. He becomes a lot more, what do you call it, flamboyant out there.
I'm fun. I'm fun when I'm drunk. I gotta admit, I'm fun when I'm drunk.
You are. You're funny. You know, I can attest to that. Sitting right next to you when we were at that other game was a lot of fun. And you were responsible for giving me that GIF, shooting from the hip. So thank you for that.
It was fun. It was fun. If you don't use that GIF, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you were that disappointed in me.
No, that gift is fire, dude. I know Mac loved it too. So we got to get another one. We got to get you another one.
We'll make a new one somehow.
Yeah,
somehow in some way.
All right. So as we bring the show to a close here, we're going to go ahead and follow you on social media. And when are you going to be, releasing a new live stream or a new episode of ATL?
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at the Ty Jager. That's the Ty Jager, just like the alcohol. Hopefully, we can get a new episode of At the Line going on to review the All-Star break mid-season point. But if you want to check out what we said about the trade deadline right after everything happened, go ahead, hit us up. You can find it at thelinepodcast.com or at the Line Pod on Twitter.
And there you go. And you know what? I look forward to you guys at least maybe on a weekend game or something. Maybe y'all can do your Twitter spaces after the game. I really enjoyed the last one you did.
I need to do that. I need to take advantage of that because that was honestly a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed listening, and watching listening and to everybody have their time to talk. And the good thing about the Twitter space is that everybody's so respectable, man. It's like nothing like you see on Spurs Twitter, which is odd,
But you have to take advantage of it after a win.
True.
If you're doing it after a loss, it's not going to be. You're going to be running to what happened with the Wizards space that I just happened to jump in. That was just a shit show. Let's say that.
Yeah, I'll stay away from that after the losses. But after a win, maybe you can do
after a win. It should be fine.
There you go. And you can also follow me at 2 Shots Podcast. It's all spelled out TWO, 2 Shots Podcast. And you can also check us out for the latest episodes of 2 Shots at 2shotspodcast.com. And make sure to check out our friends over at Project Spurs. They have a lot of great stuff about the San Antonio Spurs. And our good friend Paul Garcia is a great follow on Twitter as well because he puts out some amazing stats. So make sure you check out the guys over at projectspurs.com. So for Ty Jager, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you for watching and listening to another episode of the 2 Shots Podcast. And like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate, be kind. We're out. Peace.